If you want to hook the listener and have them whistling your tunes, then you have to have awesome melodies. In this video, I'm going to teach you the fundamentals that you need to know to create melodies that will grab your listener and pull them along for the ride. Let's get into the video. Hey everyone, Rex here from the Maze Music Academy, where I help musicians just like you level up your music making so you can find success in your music career. Welcome to part 4 of my series on the 5 essential elements of music, where we're going to talk about the third element, which is melody. If you've missed the previous videos in the series, I encourage you to hit pause and go check those out first. I'll put all the links to the videos in the description below. So like harmony, melody is one of the elements of music that deals with pitch. But unlike harmony, which is the vertical nature of pitch with notes that are played simultaneously, melody is the horizontal aspect of pitch, which is notes played one after another in sort of a contour over time. Melody is one of the most important elements of music when it comes to the memorability of your music. So it's usually the tune that you're thinking of when you think of a piece of music. It's what you whistle, it's what you sing. It's that main lead line that defines the piece of music. So one of the analogies I like to use a lot with melody and harmony working together is that if you think about harmony like a wave, and it's, if you watch waves out in the ocean on the shore, it's pretty interesting. You see the waves crashing and, there's stuff going on, but you don't really have anything to focus on. But as soon as you add a surfer onto that wave, it makes things a lot more exciting. It gives you someone to focus on and sort of defines the contour of that wave and really gives you a perspective at how big and crazy the whole situation is. And so melody is really important. It really whereas your harmony is the foundation, your melody rides on top of that and works together with the harmony to really add a lot of excitement, a lot of interest to your music. Now, pretty much all melodies are comprised of what are called scales, which are just sequences of unique pitches that are kind of standardized and selected for a certain sound. Now, even if you're not a musician, you probably know a little bit about scales already. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's a representation of a major scale, which is one of the most common scales used to make melodies. And even if you don't realize it, you know what the sound of a major scale is. And then a lot of the other scales that are used, there's actually only a few that are really common. Those you already know the sounds of those, whether they're a brighter kind of sound or a darker kind of sound. And they align very well with the kinds of chords and chord progressions that we talked about when it comes to harmony. So now, even though there's only a handful of scales that are commonly used, there are actually hundreds of scales that are more exotic, that come from different cultures and are from more modern music that you can use to give your melodies a slightly different flavor. There's scales associated with Japanese music or Middle Eastern music, Indian music, and these can be used in different ways to kind of allude to those cultures and create different kinds of sounds, which are really interesting. Now, like harmony, melody has some element of tension and release, just like the consonants and dissonance in your harmonies. So some notes in the scales are more stable and they're kind of resting points. And then there's other notes in the scale which are kind of points of tension, and you're trying to leap off of those notes or kind of get away from those notes to get back to a more stable point. And you can play with these kinds of things just like you can play with tension and release in your harmonies to kind of move the listener along and bring them along for that journey. One of the most overlooked things about melody isn't actually the pitches and the scales, but it's actually just the contour itself, the ups and the downs in the melody. And this is something that you can really capitalize on because it's something interesting in the way we perceive pitch, is that's very directional. So as I get higher and higher and higher and higher, it's almost like I'm drawing my listener up. And it's great when you're trying to create that sense of up, rising up, ascension, things getting better or higher. And then you can also go down and things get kind of darker. You're stepping down, things might be getting worse, things are getting darker. And so you can play with that up and down to really do a lot. Even if the listener isn't a musician or even an avid music fan, they're going to be drawn in that texture, into that contour up and down. Now, when you really start to listen to the contour, the shape of the ups and downs in the melodies that you like, whether it's from a video game theme, a movie theme, or from a pop song, what you start to hear is that there's different characteristics. Some melodies are very smooth and they move very stepwise, and get kind of keep you flowing. And then others, they leap up really high or they jump down really far, and that can add a lot of drama. And you can just imagine if you step up little by little, it has a more gradual effect on the listener. But then if you kind of leap all of a sudden up to a high note, it's going to add a lot more drama and a lot more impact to your piece of music. So I can't stress how important the contour is in your melodies. You know, when you ask your friends to sing one of their favorite tunes, even if they can't really sing on pitch and they're missing all kinds of notes, you can usually tell what they're singing just from the ups and downs in the melody, that sort of define what's going on in that particular tune. Now, the last thing I want to get into when it comes to melody is the style. And you know, we talked about pitch and the scales, and we talked about the contour that gives it its shape. But the style is kind of the character of the melody. And that has a lot to do with rhythm and some other aspects. So, for example, some melodies are very speech-like. You hear this a lot in a lot of popular styles and show tunes, even in opera and things like that. It's very good for any song that has lyrics. Then you have more lyrical melodies that are more flowing. You got a lot of long, graceful notes and things like that. Great for, you know, those more emotionally impactful kinds of melodies. And then you also have more rhythmic melodies, which, you know, are more regimented, kind of play in with the beat of the music a little bit more. And there's all kinds of different variations within those kinds of categories. But it's those elements. It's the scale you use, with the pitches. It's got to do with the contour and that overall style that kind of gives your melody its full flavor. So when you listen to melodies that you like, kind of listen to those things and you'll start to see how those interplay with one another. Now, when you combine all these elements of melody and you have your scale and your contour and your style, you can start to build themes or memorable melodies. And this is really prevalent in scoring for film and video games. If you just think about the main theme from Lord of the Rings or the main theme from Super Mario Brothers, that conjures up a very specific melody that is very memorable and is probably used in a lot of different ways in those films and video games. And something like Star Wars is a great example of a movie that actually has many different themes for different kinds of characters and settings and different kinds of situations. And, you know, as you compose these kinds of pieces, you can use those different themes and melodies in different ways to create different scenes, but still harken back to that same core melody, which is really cool, especially when you play with the harmony and the rhythm with it. So that's really melody in a nutshell. If you just have those basic concepts in mind when you start listening more and more to the pieces that you want to emulate, you can start to see how they use these different fundamentals to create their melodies and how you can take those and incorporate them into your music. Now, before we move on to the next video, I want to know what melodies really get stuck in your head. What themes or what pop song melodies do you really find yourself whistling a lot and you really enjoy? Tell me all about it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you're getting value from this series, smash that like button and consider subscribing for more content just like this. I'll see you in the next video where we're going to talk about the fourth essential element of music, rhythm.